and topics. And today we have a very special guest. His name is Tim Thomas, and he is a former Special Forces operator, and he's channeled his expertise into some of Australia's most impactful veteran for mental health recovery programs. Sorry, that's a mouthful. But here on today's episode, we're actually going to tackle something that we may not think about too much because we don't really do it actively or kind of, sort of, and that is sleep. So, Tim Thomas, how are you doing today?
It is so good to be here this morning, Keegan. I got a really good feeling that we're gonna deliver a lot of value, And as someone who's come out of addiction, you don't want blah blah blah, and you want genuine insights. I've never
Mm-hmm.
said I could help anybody, but I can definitely offer options. From my bag of tricks that worked for me, that you could take on. So yeah, really looking forward to the next hour with you and your people.
Sweet. Well, I really appreciate you being here, and I appreciate everything that you've done for everyone leading up to this point. And I'm excited for everyone listening to this episode being able to hopefully be able to get some good night's sleep. So, what exactly is your experience with sleep? I mean, we all do it, don't we?
Sorry for my laughter. Okay, because there are so many assumptions around sleep, and there's so many people blah blah blahing about it. But
Uh-huh.
when I was going through PTSD, there were so many academics talking about PTSD, and we've done a 7-year study, and this is what we found. I'm like, so freaking what? I already know. I live with it. So give
Yeah.
me something I can take home and put in my coffee. So, this is where, when it comes to sleep, there's a lot of people talking about, oh, it's so important. Everyone knows that, right? But
Mm-hmm.
by the end of this episode, I promise everybody you'll get some tangible access to your own body's chemistry. The joy I have, Keegan, is introducing people to the fact that they don't own a set of lungs. They own a
Mm-hmm.
medicine cabinet with a lot of different shelves.
Huh.
You breathe a certain way, you produce a certain chemical. We've got sovereignty of that. And because I didn't know the sovereignty of my own chemical state through my lungs, I would depend on chemicals outside of me:
Hmm.
alcohol, pharmaceuticals, all those things that the experiences that they could give me, I could give myself.
Mm-hmm. Huh.
So
Huh.
you
How
see how
does
that
that
see how that
work?
works? Like
No,
you
well,
literally return to your own sovereignty when you
yeah.
discover the power of your breath. That's why I'm super excited to be here.
So that is super interesting because I've never heard that before in the sense that your lungs can do that in that regard. So can you elaborate a little bit?
I would love to. Okay, so let's look at the numbers. There
Okay.
are 7 billion people on the planet, and there's a $540 billion illegal drug spend on the planet. So we, our bodies, like being in different states.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you could say it's bad, or you could say, oh, our bodies love being in different states, but we don't know how to do it for ourselves, so we pay someone else to do it for us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
and there's a whole economy based on us not knowing the sovereignty of our own power. you know.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
lost six years of my life to pills when I said I couldn't sleep. I didn't know breath
Mm.
work could alkalize my neural pathways, could act as anti-inflammation for all my chronic injuries.
Huh.
Okay, so and you don't hear about this stuff because it's free, right? No one's making money from this.
Yeah.
So this is why I was really excited to be on here today. But you asked my journey into this. It wasn't mystical. It was really out of necessity.
Mm.
I was in the dirt of Afghanistan,
Mm-hmm.
outside the wire, active deployment. You go, you train. Everyone's tough and can handle fatigue, but this is beyond
Mm-hmm.
fatigue.
Oh yeah.
You've lost mates. You've seen limbs blown off others, and you just. I felt at the time I felt like I was going to die, and
Mm-hmm.
you'd never get anything that you'd call proper sleep. But every now and then you could get your body horizontal,
Mm-hmm.
and there was this thing that the army taught you to take a proper sight picture through on your gun.
Mm-hmm.
You'd take a deep breath in and then let it out really slow, and then everything would still, and you could focus. And they use their modality on the back of a very powerful breathwork technique.
Hmm.
And so when I was horizontal, beyond fatigue, thinking I'm going to die, thinking it's absolutely pointless,
Mm-hmm.
thinking I've only got 2 cents worth of energy. What's the freaking point?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, if all you've got is 2 cents worth of energy, um, you better invest that wisely. So,
Mm.
so with that 2 cents, I just started taking these deep breaths and I focused on my non-dominant hand on my thumb. And it was like I
Mm.
was trying to breathe in through the tip of my thumb. And eventually my thumb would not just relax, but it was like it would become illuminated and really white, light,
Huh.
almost transparent. And then I'd bring my breath into my pointer finger, breathe into that until that was white, light, illuminated. And then my index, my ring finger, my pinky finger, my hand, my arm. And then when I pulled it through my whole body, um, whatever sleep I got, I woke up and that 2 cents was turned into eight. I'm like,
Oh.
that's really something. And so I
Mm.
kept investing until I got to the point where I'm feeling abundant. And I started, when I woke up, I'd do some push-ups, lift an ammo tin. We weren't in a gym in the desert, but I'd do
Uh-huh.
stuff to make my body work to produce more energy. And then I got to this point where I was pretty good, but I noticed that, if my team was having a bad day, I was having a bad day.
Mm.
So it wasn't enough for me to get myself, out of that fatigue. I had to do it in a way where I could build others up,
Mm.
and even if I'm being really selfish, it makes a lot of sense to have people around you that are strong and connected.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and I had to go to a war zone to realize that when the person next to me is stronger, I'm stronger. Uh, so it was it was out of necessity through my own sort of, well, I want to survive this, how do I do this?
Mm.
And then when I didn't know breath work was a thing, it was just something I did for myself. But when I got out of defense, went through my own PTSD, um, started coming out of it, and I saw so many other veterans suffering.
Mm.
And veterans are normal people, and
Yeah.
PTSD is PTSD. Everyone's suffering the same, but veterans sort of have this thing of, well, if I are that we get in training, we get sort of pretty much told that if you ask your help, you're weak, and if you're weak, you let the team down, and we'll die
Mm.
before we let the team down.
Yeah.
So we tend to sort of leave our request for help longer until we're about to lose everything, and often the veteran suicide rate is ridiculously high because there's just
Mm.
people not asking. Um,
Mm.
but getting back to the importance of sleep,
Mm.
uh, the goal I had was saving 40 veteran lives from suicide because that was the
Oh.
number I picked, because we'd lost about 40 blokes to bombs and bullets in Afghanistan,
Mm.
for Australian troops, right? And
Mm.
I thought, well, I don't care if I work the rest of my life. I'm just gonna commit to this goal. But that actually was achieved within 12 months because a metric of success, Keegan, was improving. The metric of success of the program was how much it improved the sleep of the participant.
Oh.
So,
Okay.
so we noticed
Huh.
that if we improved the sleep, everything
Mm.
in their life improved. And there's a saying, sleep is the soil from which everything grows. So
Mm.
if you can improve the soil, it's just like magic. Everything else sorts itself out.
Oh wow. Um. Yeah. First of all, I'm so sorry about the losses that you've endured and all the service that you had done, and I thank you for all of that because I know that that can't have been easy whatsoever. But it sounds like something miraculous was born out of all of it. And
Oh, Keegan, I say it very plainly to veterans. You might not think you're special, and I'll say this to everybody, but I bet you've been through some shit. Okay.
mm,
And it's our job to turn that shit into fertilizer. Okay, that's
ooh,
actually there to help everything grow. And the stinkiest shit, the stuff that you don't want to touch, is
mm-hmm,
actually makes the best fertilizer. And it might take you a week, a month, a decade to turn that shit into fertilizer, but that's the
mm-hmm,
amount of time we can save others. You know, I
yeah,
mean, imagine one conversation with you, Keegan, saving someone 10 years of life. That's like a superpower. Um, so that's it's in my experience. It's not just what we do that adds value to others or other people see as value as.
mm-hmm,
Um, it's what we've come through, not so much what we do, it's what we've come through.
mm,
And it's sort of that hero villain moment where you either say, F the world, F everybody, I've been effed over. I've got the right to F everyone else over, and
Mm,
staying isolated. But the hero asks, shit, this is almost impossible. But how many other people are going through the same stuff? And give that a genuine number. And I ask everyone listening, ask everyone's going through something. Whatever you're going through, ask yourself a real question. How many people do you genuinely think are going through what you're going through right now?
mm,
And give it a real number,
yeah.
because those people exist.
Yeah.
And and when I asked myself that question, Keegan,
Mm-hmm.
I figured, oh, at least a million, you know,
Yeah.
and that's when I saw 500,000 to my right, 500,000 to my left, and they're all looking in saying, Tim, if you can do this for you, you can do this for us, you
Mm.
know, because I was hurting like a bastard,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm like, I saw all these people and they're like, Tim, you got to find a way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that changed everything because I kind of found my tribe. When I was
Oh.
alone and isolated, I was justifying doing all sorts of dumb shit,
Yeah.
drugs, alcohol, hurting people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then when I asked that question and I gave it a number and I saw those people left and right of me, all of a sudden they were my tribe. And a lot of those people I hadn't met. And a lot of people that you are yet to meet are gonna, if you start moving forward, they're gonna say things like, when they meet you in the future, they're going to say, we're so glad that back in 2025 you started moving forward, because that the thing that took you so many years took us far less time. And it's a big shift in someone's mindset,
Mm.
Keegan, when you know you're I'm not one in a million,
Mm-hmm.
I am a million in one.
Ooh.
you know
Ooh. Yeah.
so you're not just making one appointment to see a medical specialist to help you move forward. You're making, a million appointments. You're not making an inch of progress, you're making a million inches.
Mm-hmm.
And once that sort of penny clicks, then the hero journey starts, because you've got the connection, and that's what we crave. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
what drove me to so many addictions, because I wanted to feel connected. I wasn't connected, and someone said, look, here's the easiest way to do it, just take it through the mouth. you know
Yeah.
you know
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sorry to have a little chuckle at that, but having suffered through addiction myself, I know exactly what you're talking about, and it actually worked, and that was a problem. It worked until it was the source of the problem, you know, and getting over that problem was definitely the hardest thing I've had to do myself. And sleep was definitely not existent either, really, whenever I think about whenever I think about the time I spent in addiction, my sleep was more like an alcohol induced coma, you
Yeah.
know?
Yep.
Uh, so it would
Well,
have
what was the alternative? Suffer with your own thoughts,
exactly.
suffer with the disconnection, live with that blockage, because
Mm-hmm.
alcohol is really good at removing those blockages. I mean, I believe we're naturally energetic and we're
Mm-hmm.
very sensitive to the blockages. But if we don't know how to remove that blockage ourselves, we automatically look outside of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I never knew why I had to drink half a carton of grog before I
Oof.
spoke to my then wife. It
Mm.
just had to do it. At the end of the day, I had to do it because there was some imbalance. There was some blockage that, daylight hours I could, I could ignore was there. But then at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, all these things would come to the surface,
Yeah.
and one kind of feeds the other. Poor night's sleep, less energy, less better decisions,
Mm-hmm.
more need for finding balance outside of me. The less we look inside ourselves, the more we look outside of ourselves. And and no one tells it that these things come at a cost. Like, the doctor was quite happy to throw a pharmacy at me,
Mm-hmm.
but no one told me that, yes, there's a benefit, but there's a massive cost to this. And coming
Mm-hmm.
off this shit, holy crap. If you want
Oh
to
man.
go to the, I never knew what it was like to turn a second into an hour.
Oh.
Like, how does that even happen? Like an
It.
hour seems like a goddamn week, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. Time dilation. Whenever you're suffering through withdrawals and stuff, or just jonesing for your next fix. Oh yeah, it was terrible. And I mean, It's interesting because thinking back to it, it was like even in the midst of sleep, I was wondering when can I wake up to get my next relief, because sleep wasn't even enough. So, how can someone go from feeling like that to improving their sleep to help them not feel like that the next day?
Well, understand that it's actually quite easy to give you the answer to that question. Okay,
Mm,
it's actually quite easy. But
okay.
the reason not many people take this on as a solution is that there is opposition for you making positive and powerful changes in your life.
Mm,
Okay. So
mhm,
think of your mind like a garden. Whatever you water grows. Okay.
uh-huh,
And for years, I was watering the weeds of stress and disempowerment.
mhm,
And the thing about these things, they grow and grow and grow until eyeballs pop out of them and they actually become sentient. They become very aware of the choices you make and they're influencing your choices without you even knowing it, right? Little
yeah,
fuckers. Okay. So they were not interested in me breathing a certain way to
mm,
kick them out. So, I'd lost, got divorced, lost house, home, regular access to kids,
mm,
sleeping on the couch in my parents' place. And you could bet at 2 a.m., I did not want to goddamn sleep because of all this shit in my head.
mhm,
And that this was worse than the war zone in Afghanistan. This was a whole other level, right?
mhm,
Um, and even though I knew I was a breathwork coach, I knew that if I breathed a certain way, I would find peace, but these stress weeds were running the show. Okay, so
mm,
it's like I literally couldn't breathe. And if you want a sort of a tangible experience of this, like think about every time before you do some form of exercise. Okay,
mhm,
there's always that little bit of resistance because
mhm,
that resistance is the disempowered parts of you knowing that you're about to be empowered, and then they're kicked out. They're gone. So they scream the loudest before they die. All
mm,
right. So I will give breathwork techniques, and I'll give access to a bunch of breathwork techniques, but people need to be aware that if you've been watering the weeds of stress or disempowerment, they will fight for their existence.
mm,
Okay. And this is where, if I could just share or speak into 2 a.m., you know, gunfire going off in my head,
yeah,
worse than anything I'd seen before. Uh, I I'm at that point where I'm about to do serious self harm, drugs, alcohol, self harm, all three. It really didn't matter. I wanted out.
mhm,
But then Keegan, I literally looked at my left thumb and I said, "You can take one breath, take one fucking breath." And I drove it into my chest and I sucked in the deepest breath of air because of that tactile push into my chest, kind of got me focused on my breath instead of the thoughts. And I'm like,
mhm,
oh crap, that worked. Let's do it again. And I stuck two fingers into my chest. Oh my gosh, this is working. Take three. Okay, take five, get to 10, and finger after finger, breath after breath, and somewhere between 15 and 25 breaths, the stress weeds were chemically overridden. Okay,
mm,
because breath is a chemical override. Okay, this isn't
hmm,
thoughts controlling thoughts. People, I'm so tired of people saying you just need to meditate. No, just meditate. I'm like, if I got a train wreck going on up here. Okay, meditation is thoughts controlling thoughts. Pretty hard to control a train wreck. Okay, at this stage.
mhm,
Now, I'm a fan of meditation, but I think you've got to arrest that momentum with something a bit simpler and easier to handle,
mhm,
before you actually get to that state of mastery. So there I was between 15 and 25 breaths. The stress weed got kicked out, and it was like the rest of my brain said, or mind and body said, "Tim, thank fuck you kicked them out. You know,
mm,
keep doing this. This is working." And it was in that moment of my absolute lowest that I'm like, "Holy crap, this stuff works." It really works.
mhm,
Um, and and then within that conversation, how do you make this available to other people to access this whenever they need it?
yeah,
Because it's the good thing about breath work, Keegan, is it's not something I invented, but I I'm I can create a structure that people can access it. They
uh-huh,
can get introduced to the best friend that they're going to have for the rest of their life. It'll be
yeah,
there when you wake up, when you go to sleep at 2 a.m. in the morning.
mhm,
but like any kind of physical discipline, there is a certain way to do it and a duration for doing it that will give you the, desired effects.
Mm-hmm.
um, and essentially, as humans, I believe our happiness, strength, power, all the range of positive emotions are relative to how connected we are,
Mm-hmm.
and I do believe that connection starts inside of us, and then it gets doubled and tripled when we connect outside of us, you know.
Ah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think, I've observed that powerful connections inside oneself do set up a high probability for powerful connections outside of yourself.
Mm, yeah, I do like that because it is really, in my experiences, kind of boiling down to what changes on the inside will help change the outside world. And it's not something that is so much so that it's going to happen in an instant. It's something that builds itself up. Because, and I loved what you were talking about, the stress weeds and them growing sentient, because that is totally like a great way to illuminate something that is almost impossible to describe to someone else, whenever they haven't been in there. But maybe it's just because I know exactly what you're talking about that it makes it easier to do. But everyone has their own garden of sorts too.
Yeah.
And uh, you were talking about making it accessible for people. So is and you're a hero, so you have brought this structure to people, right? Uh,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. Well, so
How have you brought it about?
okay. Well, what I noticed is you've got to meet people where they are. It's one
Mm-hmm.
thing to give them a bunch of hacks. It's another thing to understand the life they're living and how to easily and effortlessly splice in a new healthy habit in a way that's comfortable and effortless. Because I've noticed I can do things that are comfortable and effortless a lot longer than I can do things that are uncomfortable and hard. you know, all
Yeah.
right. Kind of obvious, but so I've created a company called Breathwork in Bed, and that is
Ooh,
exactly what we do. We do breathwork in bed, and
okay.
we basically Uber Eats in the breathwork. Okay, so all you got to do is once you look up on your phone the Breathwork in Bed app,
Mm-hmm.
tell it when you want to sleep and when you want to wake up, and then just forget about it. It falls out of your phone exactly when you need it. Because I don't remember to do, even though I know it's healthy, I'm like doing stuff at the end of the day and I'm getting tired. So to have something there that's just a button where you can go boop, that is the the start of the experience of people going, oh, that felt good, more please. Oh, that felt good, more please.
Uh,
And then before you know it, you start using your breath as your drug of choice.
ooh.
Okay. We are made for altered states. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
we can do it for ourselves. People ask me why I do up to 2 hours of breath work a day. Well, I'm like, I'm kind of the guy that likes feeling stuff and feeling how to change my body and feeling high and feeling, and this stuff is free, non-addictive. I mean, it's addictive, but you know what I mean. And and it's so incredibly healthy. And I'm very cautious when I say this, but because it reduced my inflammation so much, I don't have a lot of cartilage in my lower back from carrying heavy shit in the special forces,
Mm-hmm.
and that had me laid up 3 weeks out of 4, right? But
Mm.
doing my breath work has dropped my pain scales, dropped my inflammation, chemically changed stuff,
Oh.
and gotten rid of all the tension from my body because pain can sort of feed itself,
Mm.
in our own desire to protect ourselves. Like you'll feel pain, you'll feel tension, you'll feel pain, and it'll just sort of get this tension. So
Mm-hmm.
breath work. I mean, I could tell you the science behind it, and at some point during this podcast, you'll get to experience it. But essentially, air has a very powerful nature.
Mm.
Okay, and the nature of air is it can't be held. Like if you try to grab it, you can't hold it, right? That's
Yeah.
obvious. But
Uh-huh.
when we breathe it in a certain way and in a certain duration, we take on that nature. We take on the nature of air.
Mm.
Air doesn't allow us to hold on to our physical tension. It doesn't allow us to hold on to our mental tension,
Uh-huh.
you know? And it's interesting you're touching your jaw right now because behind your jaw is a vagus nerve insertion point. So
Oh,
when
really?
people, yeah, when
Huh.
people start feeling stuff shifting, they'll often adjust their jaw. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Huh.
So one thing I actually look for when I'm working, I mean, obviously my space is veterans,
Uh-huh.
and I spoke about how um, breaking someone's isolation is the
Mhm.
first step. Um, we we can handle anything if we feel connected to another human. That's kind of how we're wired. But if we're
Mhm.
disconnected, and this is what pain does, it doesn't matter if the pain's emotional or physical, it'll get to a certain duration or intensity where it transforms from just being pain to being loneliness, isolation. I'm the only guy going through this. So it really doesn't matter what I do, you know.
Mhm.
So I can destroy myself, I can hurt others, you know. It's just this crazy echo chamber. But um, when the isolation is broken, and what I used to do is just run these veteran groups where someone would share their story, and I'd watch the crowd because you'd see these jaws going just slightly popping open, and you'd hear words to the effect of "fuck, I thought I was the only one," you know. and,
Mhm.
and I'm like, yes, we've just started their healing journey,
Mhm.
because isolation um, creates these words we want to speak, but we can't speak them. And
Mhm.
those unspoken words become like rocks around your heart. And,
Yeah.
and it's like you can't feel anything. And I used to take so much alcohol just so I could feel something, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Yep.
And us blokes, it's like we're waiting to hear another bloke who has walked the same path speak the words that we can't speak. And then all of a sudden, boom, the heart opens, the jaw pops open. Fuck, I thought I was the only one, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. That I mean, it's incredibly and frustrating how impossibly alone I felt whenever I was in the middle of addiction. And like there's nothing that could convince me otherwise. And it's like, sure, there's been alcohol for thousands of years, but I'm the only one that has been this drunk for this long ever and has got it this bad. And so, yeah, I really do think that it takes people to sit here and talk about their experiences and what they went through. But I also think it's really important that we talk about how we got through them and out of them and how we continue to do that kind of stuff too. But it's super important to let people know that, hey, no, I used to drink a lot every day, and like it's one of those like a lot is a lot, and whenever you're buying the bottom shelf kind of stuff, the cheapest of the cheap and the biggest bottle you can get, oh yeah, it's not good.
Well, our human body is so incredibly tough and resilient. We can abuse it for so
Hmm.
long and still kind of function, you
Yeah.
know? Um,
Hmm.
and the same actually goes with poor quality sleep. You can function with poor sleep for years, but you don't know that you just, if you were to
Hmm.
ask, when did I laugh out loud for no reason? You'd be like, I can't remember when I
Hmm.
laughed for no reason.
Yeah.
When was the last time I stopped and looked at and the beauty of something really struck me? And you're like, oh, geez, I don't even remember. You just start sacrificing all these really unique, beautiful human experiences because they're getting slowly and surely replaced by, you know, substances.
Hmm. And they do get replaced entirely because the life suddenly becomes revolving around whatever that substance or activity is, which was very strange. So I do like how that you said that breath work can be addicting, but it's addicting in the best kind of way because it's not destroying your body, you're not destroying anyone else's body or property or anything like that. In fact, you're doing the opposite. You're helping other people through tough times and uh, helping people get some sleep, which, again, to me, I deal with slight narcolepsy and insomnia as well. So it's kind of weird. I'm one of those, like, either I'm going to be up all night or I'm going to fall asleep as soon as I hit the bed. And whenever insomnia hits, I wish that there was something I could do, but I'll have bouts of it, where it can be 2 or 3 weeks, and it's like I wish I could get some sleep, and that's all I want, but there's nothing I can do. So, real quick, is there something breathwork can do on that end?
Hell yeah. Okay. My heart really goes out to you. Okay. Right now, Keegan. Um, and it's kind of, I'm sad because there's a lot of people out there that think there's nothing they can do. And if they do stick their hand up like I did, they lose years of their life to pills, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the truth is, there is something you can do. And breath work is a tangible option. The amount of insomniac veterans that, and in fact, some from the States, they're saying, we don't sleep, Tim. That sort of ghostly look behind their eye.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then you check in a couple of weeks later, they're like, holy shit, I am sleeping not just all the way through, but the position I go to sleep in is the position I wake up in. And I'm doing this breath work with my daughter, you know.
Uh,
So there's a tangible option.
mm-hmm.
And the the trick is giving yourself permission. So before I do any work with anybody, I have to
Mm-hmm.
ask them three questions. Do you give your breath full permission to completely nourish every cell in your body?
Mm-hmm.
You know, do you give your breath permission to completely nourish every part of your mind?
Mm-hmm.
Do you give your breath complete and absolute access to nourish every single part of your unconscious mind?
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, so if I can get three yeses, then we can start drawing this experience to every single part of you. And then we get to experience that the joy of, often we pursue an experience so we can experience the joy of achieving it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's a time and a place to pursue experiences and get the reward of it. But what if I told you your breath could give you that sense of deep satisfaction before you even left the house?
Hmm.
Okay.
Interesting.
So yes, I can pursue my dreams, but I'm doing it with in the state that I want to be in. Not and
Mm.
I don't go, well, I'm not going to allow myself to be completely open, grateful, and seeing the beauty and everything until I get to that spot. Okay.
Oh.
So there's the trick, and that's why I do so much breath work each day, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm a real doer. I'm all about getting stuff done. But I've noticed that if I'm always telling myself, I'm going to allow myself to feel satisfied once I achieve this, then the affirmation that I'm making is right here is I don't give myself permission to be satisfied and
Mm.
grateful. Okay, so what happens is when I do get to that thing that I want to achieve, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
the affirmation of, well, here's not the place to feel satisfied. Move to the next one. So I every day do my breath work to the point where I feel complete within myself, open to new experience. On a good morning, I will even shed a few tears looking at a sunrise. And
Mm.
I know it's going to be a good day when I see a few tears out of the eyes, because I'm feeling in such receivership, of the goodness that is. Um, so there are so many applications to people sleeping well,
Mm-hmm.
but the real game changer with breathwork in bed is it doesn't just give you an awesome night's sleep.
Mm-hmm.
There's getting out of bed breathwork. So
Ooh.
most people associate getting out of bed with, I just feel like a bear, right? That's me. And I
Yeah.
had a coffee shop. I had to get up at 2:30 in the morning every day.
Mm.
And I just felt like death, absolute death. And I would, then start making these recordings of this breath work. So before I left the bed, I'd breathe a certain way to activate my body.
Mm.
Okay. Here's a fun fact. Your nose, the Chinese call heaven's gate. If with
Huh.
your right hand you block off your right nostril and breathe through your left nose, that activates your PNS, parasympathetic nervous system. It helps you relax, rest, digest. All is well.
Huh.
So going to sleep, right thumb, right nostril. Okay. Now waking up in the morning, left thumb, left nostril, breathing through the right. And that gets you ready to rock and rumble. So before a
Huh.
fight, I used to be a professional fighter. Really get that firing going. So you,
Mm-hmm.
you you can control your chemistry through your nose. Another fun fact about the nose, I'm only saying this because it's hiding in plain sight, is that the body has a really positive relationship. Some more than others, hey?
Yeah.
The body's got a really positive relationship with nitric oxide. Okay.
Huh.
It's a massive benefit for the heart, the lungs, the brain, the mood. Now, nitric oxide is not produced when you mouth breathe, it's only
Mm-hmm.
produced when we breathe through our nose.
Huh.
Okay.
Okay.
Fun fact about nitric oxide, they used to dope athletes with nitric oxide, but then they found that there was all these other benefits that the athletes were experiencing, and then you know nitric oxide is a key ingredient in Viagra
Huh.
because
I did not
nitric
know that.
oxide is really helpful in with sexual function.
Huh.
Yeah,
Okay.
and one of the reasons at nighttime, it took me a while to get here, but I always tape my mouth, put some tape,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it took a while to get used to it, probably a couple of weeks, but now I breathe for however long I sleep through my
Mm-hmm.
nose, and that's dosing my body with nitric oxide. So
Hmm.
there are chemical ways to hack your own body. And a fun fact, since we're talking about this, when we hum, we
Uh-huh.
improve the uptake of nitric oxide by like 2000%.
Oh
All
wow.
right. But to me, I always like taking things to the next level. I'll
Uh-huh.
do something with you right now. So
Okay.
just we're gonna I'll give you a demonstration, then we'll just breathe in with our mouth closed, hum, block off one nostril, and then squeeze the other one off so it restricts the airflow, and so the humming really is slowed down. So breathe in, pinch off one nostril, start humming, pinch off both nostrils, and see how that slows the hum down. Now let that vibration go through everything and just keep humming. Draw that into yourself. Out, 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 out. And you can hum for like 30, 40 seconds. And that is dosing your whole system with this really powerful nitric oxide.
Whoa. That's who. Hmm. Hmm. My nose feels funny. My body feels a little funny. That's so strange. It's
Well,
like, hmm. So what exactly
okay,
is
it's
going
not
on there?
strange if you understand Nikola Tesla's saying if you want to understand the universe, think
Mm-hmm.
vibration, frequency, and resonance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you are creating a frequency and a resonance through your nose.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it wasn't just an uptake of nitric oxide, there was a certain vibration going through your whole system.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we respond really powerfully to that.
Huh.
Um, and simply, if you understand that we're the most powerful energetic circuit board, okay, energy comes from us, but
Mm-hmm.
it's the blockages that stop us, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
you can find ways to effectively remove the blockages, all of a sudden you're kicking ass without even trying, because we are naturally made like that, right?
Uh-huh.
And so simple activities like that little trick we did,
Mm-hmm.
um, we can we can connect back to our body.
Hmm.
Okay. And when we connect back to our body, boom, we've got all the energy we need. Like this is the bank, right? But we tend to think, oh,
Ah.
it's out there somewhere. I've got to get a loan. I need a loan for energy, you know? And so breath connects you back into the bank.
Okay.
And I can see you're resonating with it. So we'll do one, just an easy one to ramp this up even more,
Okay.
is when you breathe in, Breathe in, then breathe in again and again. Let me demonstrate this. We're going to pinch your nose. You're going to then let your head fall forward, and you're going to push all that air down to your belly like you're pushing it out of your belly. And when it's pushed down low, you're going to hum it out. Okay.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in and then in. Pinch your nose. Let your head hang forward. Let your head go forward. Put your hand on your belly. Feel like how it's sticking out and pushing it down low. Hum it out. Push it down low. Hum it out. Hum it out. Hum it out as much as you can. Push it down low. Hum it out slow. Relax your shoulders, your neck, your spine. Let that resonance go deeply through your system. Just let it in. This is an active receivership. The more you let this in, the more good it can do. Just let it in. And allow it to just do what it does. Okay, so just check in with your body right now. Energy has an intelligence all of its own. It'll go to where it needs to go. So just let it go to where it needs to go. Some people, do a bit of stretching. Some people just relax part of their brain, whatever it is.
Yeah. It's like it's activating my like slight restless leg syndrome, but it's almost like it's relieving it almost. Like it that's weird cuz huh, like my leg wants to move, but it's like now it's fine, which is weird. Huh. So can that help with like the breath work help with RLS and restless arm syndrome and stuff like that as well?
I don't honestly know.
Huh.
But if there's in I was a combat medic, and
Mhm.
if you think about provocation or placation, provocation is when something makes it worse.
Mhm.
Placation is when something makes it better. And you
Mhm.
can divide up all modalities into provocation or placation. Okay, if it's
Okay.
placating it, making it better, okay, and it's natural and from underneath your own skin, then I would say, gently move forward into it.
Huh.
It's I've usually found that, like I said, energy once created healthily has a natural intelligence all of its own. It'll go to where it's supposed to go. It may have sensed that there's an imbalance in a particular part of you that it just goes to and goes, okay, let's give it some love, man.
Huh. Yeah. That's very strange. And I mean, it is one of those spots where normally it seems that that particular muscle has been triggered either by stress or something more along the lines. And like it, I don't know, it's kind of weird because checking in, my leg doesn't feel as rigid, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Well,
hmm,
taking on the nature of air, air does not allow us to hold physical or mental tension.
yeah.
And my experience is when I've got a thought in my head that pisses me off, it'll go, okay, I need something to stand on. It'll go into my body and create a form of tension. Oh, I'm tense
Ooh,
there. And then that'll send a physical energy signal to back up to here. Goes, and that thought in my head, this is going on while I'm washing dishes, doing something that
mm-hmm.
I don't even know this is happening.
Yeah.
Then it'll go, great. I've got something to stand on here. I'll send more signal down to the tension in my body, more signal up to the tension in my head, and my own body is playing against itself. So when
Mm.
I breathe and stop, I break that circuit. I break all that
Ah.
neural feedback that was self-sabotaging me,
Mm-hmm.
and I create the real connection that I've always been looking for, you know.
Uh, yeah. And that interconnection is really the key to all of it. So whenever we're sitting here and doing breath work in bed, uh, what all is some of the things that come out of it for someone on their first couple of goes?
Well,
Uh,
this is the great stuff. Breath work is natural and it's often
mm-hmm.
immediate. Okay,
Oh.
and the reason why breath work is so powerful is it actually outranks your thinking mind. Okay,
Hmm.
and the reason why it outranks us, our thinking mind is a relatively new bolt on to the team. Okay, So before we were thinking and sentient, before we were putting
Mm.
paintings on rock walls, I'm talking about us as evolved human beings,
Uh-huh.
we were breathing, okay?
Yeah.
And this new sentience we have, God bless it, it's trying to help, but it's like the new guy on the team goes, "Oh, I'm unsure of everything, so I've got to tell everybody what to do, and that makes me feel important." And then when you breathe, it's literally the rest of the team going, "Hang on, little fella, you're part of something much, much older here. Okay, know
Mm.
your place."
Mm.
And you
Yeah.
get to come back to something that is, I would say, it's actually beyond thought and beyond words. Because before we were speaking, blah, 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 we were breathing,
Uh-huh.
okay? And that deep ancient wiring still lives inside of us.
Mm-hmm.
And we can use that to heal ourselves. And we can also, you can also weaponize it. Okay, so professional
Oh.
fighter here, I would target, like, I'd always fight guys, beat guys that were more skilled than me. I was a yellow belt, they were a black belt, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I knew if I took out their lungs, the thinking mind gets kicked out and they
Oh.
go to the only thing that matters is their breath.
Uh-huh.
And so they become a white belt in that moment. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So conversely, when I had shit in my head that was just stuck and sentient and not wanting me to breathe, it would get mechanically kicked out. But I needed an external point of focus to say, breathe in, breathe out, just that really, really simple stuff. And the old saying goes, could it really be that simple? Well, yes, it does. And like I said, before the end of this episode, I'd love to take people through a lived experience, and hopefully they can have a sense of what we're talking about, not just the blah blah blah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Uh, a lived experience and some actual uh, example works is going to be fantastic, and we've got time for that in just a little bit. But one of the things that I'm curious about is whenever you're doing breath work and whenever you're seeing these results and all this, how do you convince someone that they should try it?
It's like a lot of things. Humans are so tough, and it's almost like, I know, I'll own this. I was a tough dude, and my head had to bounce off the concrete a few times before I go, you know what, maybe there's a better solution.
Mm,
And I'm sure there was plenty of people that tried to put their hand between my head and the concrete, and they ended up just hurting their own hand. you
mm,
know
yeah.
so in many ways you've got to speak your truth authentically, share the things that have worked, and people sense, like, when people are hurting, one thing you got to give them is they got a shit radar a million miles long. They can tell if you're bullshitting them.
Mm,
And there's so much bullshit out there, right? So you don't know who to trust sometimes when you're looking for help.
mm,
But if you can speak the truth and say what worked, you're planting a seed of thought in their head. Okay. And if you can create a structure where they can go, you know what, to hell with it, I'll give it a go. You know, then it gets taken on board. So I say, I don't like using the term help people,
mm,
because you can't help anyone as much as you can't change anybody,
yeah.
but you can give them options, and you can make them accessible.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of been my driving force, and I've seen the best results, just sharing honestly, and then
Mm-hmm.
saying, look, here's an option. Your head might need to bounce a few times before you take it on board, but it's here, and it goddamn well works. You know.
Oh, I love that. And it, I mean, it really does sound like you took your own message to yourself and said, "Hey, like I know you're going to have to go through this, but whenever you're ready, this is here for you." And I mean, for myself, someone had asked me what would I have told myself way back in the past to either stop my addiction or whatever, and it was along the same lines of I'm going to have to go through it. There's no stopping me. Like everything that could have been said was told to me by someone that I loved, and it wasn't enough. So I had to experience it, and so coming out of it was a miracle in its own, you know? And so that's the thing, is that you're really acknowledging that it is up to that person to make that choice, to really sit there and go, I want that help. And you're saying, hey, I've been there. but here's a way out too, which is just freaking awesome. So,
Well, and I love how there's a universal theme to what you're saying, and people who are on the other side of it really get it.
mhm,
Um, and I will offer again, when you're in, if you're in the locker right now, ask yourself that question: how many other people are in the same situation you're in, and give it a genuine number. you know, um, and then put those people left and right of you, because they're looking in going, hey, if you can make a way forward for you, you can make a way forward for us. And us humans, we are capable of anything, but we're not very capable of feeling like we're alone in the scenario, you know.
mhm,
So I've just found this winning formula of breaking isolation and then getting people out of fatigue.
mhm,
You know, what's that look like? Breaking isolation, improving sleep. And it's like
mhm,
this golden compass just switches on inside of people, and they know exactly what they're supposed to do next. You
yeah,
know, there's so many millions of dollars poured into mental health, but if you're not addressing the isolation, if you're not addressing the fatigue, because if you're in isolation, you can't drop your guard. No one's got my back. So if I drop my guard, something bad's going to happen. It's going to be my fault, and that's exhausting. You
mhm,
know, so yes, you've got to break the isolation, and once they're out of fatigue, it's almost like they sort themselves out. You don't they once you truly understand this, you need 98% less of the resources you think you need, you know.
mhm. And man, the way that you just put that too is absolutely clear to someone that's been through it themselves, because you're right. It's going through it is thinking that like recovery is another mountain I've got to go through, and whenever I look at it now, it's just broken up into smaller paths along the way, and it doesn't have to be that whole big thing all at once. And especially whenever I sat there and I looked at it like, oh, I have to do this for the rest of my life. Oh no. It was, no, I can do this for today at least, and we'll see how it goes. And it really does make a difference. And that connection, that isolation, the fatigue, all that sorting itself out is crazy too, because whenever my fatigue comes to be rest and rejuvenated, then the connection even to even only myself is improved, and that helps me connect with others outside. So, uh,
Yeah. Part of the recovery process, and part of what I try and do with breathwork in bed, is, yes, you connect to yourself, but do you remember how I said breathwork gives you breathwork out of bed? So
mm-hmm,
you get this slow on ramp to good energy, so your feet are hitting the ground very differently.
mm-hmm.
But then it asks a very simple question: do you want to double the energy and connection you're feeling right now?
Oh,
Okay, you've done your breath work in the morning. You've connected to your body. There's even
mm,
there's even positive affirmations to say in the mirror. Because if I've just noticed, if I can win the first 10 minutes of the day, I've won the day.
mm,
Otherwise I just spend agonizing hours trying to get myself away from feeling shit. Like, going away from something you don't want to experience is very different to going towards something that you do want to. So to have that automated process, that first 10 minutes of the day, just a press of the button,
mm,
um, and then the way to double your energy once you've connected to yourself is consider the possibility that this energy is not just meant to stay here, it's meant to be paid forward. It's only half the connection here. Full connection means when it gets outside of you. So
mm.
within the app, we have this thing called the Generosity News Wall, where you
Oh,
do a simple act of generosity to somebody or to the environment. I like picking up cigarette butts. That's my act of generosity to the environment.
uh-huh.
Or, you could buy someone a cup of coffee. You could just say good morning to three people. It's very my one of my other favorite ones is just pick up the phone. The voicemail button you can send to people, and I go,
Uh-huh.
hey buddy, how you going? Just checking in. Hope you're well. Just something so simple to create a connection, and you get to and the generosity doesn't just double your own energy, and it doesn't just enhance it in someone else's. Anyone observing that gets a big boost as well. So, if you want to biohack your brain, integrate generosity, because
Ooh,
that is one of the most powerful things we can do to break our own isolation.
mm.
And,
Okay.
and it could be something as simple as just listening to somebody. It could be the checkout chick where, you're physically just there, and they can tell that you're listening. You're genuinely there with them. And there's
Mm-hmm.
this shift that mammals see that, oh, this person's actually with me right now, you know? And what did that cost me? Nothing. You know, what was it? What was a potential impact? Could be everything to that person. You know, so
Mm-hmm.
generosity doesn't have people think, oh, it's got to be big. No, I'm saying, think of you as a million in one. You're doing 1 million small acts. That's no small act.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. That's a really, really cool way to look at that. And do love that about generosity because generosity and gratitude have a long thing, a long thing. They have a long history with me going through recovery, you know. And I really couldn't do it without those two things because if I lose sight of that, then it's so easy to slip back into it.
Yeah,
It really is. Um, but real quick, you said you wanted to give us a little bit of a living
sure.
example.
I would love to. I would absolutely love to.
All right,
And if we do this right, by the end of it, you will be feeling fully connected to your own body.
all righty.
Um, and I mentioned this earlier, but we do need to give ourselves permission for our breath to nourish our bodies.
Okay,
We do need to give ourselves permission for our breath to nourish our minds.
okay,
And we do need to give permission for our breath to 100% nourish our unconscious minds.
okay.
So if you've said yes to all those, all I'm going to get you to do is breathe in and out. Congratulations. That is the first step. Being conscious of your breath connects you to your body.
Okay.
Okay. Because mental health to me isn't mental health, it's physical disconnection. The more I'm worried about stuff outside of me, and the more disconnected I am from my body. When I breathe and I'm aware that I'm breathing, that's the first step to getting connected back to my body. This is where the bank is, remember?
Mm-hmm.
But our mind will tell us that, oh, it's all out there. Nah, man, it's all here. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in, and we're going to breathe in again and again and again and again. Okay. In, and then in. Hold it. Move your shoulders a little bit. Open it up. Wriggle, wriggle, wriggle. And if it feels good, let it out with a sigh. Teeth start showing at this point because we don't know how much tension we hold up here, man.
Yeah.
And when we release it, it's like, oh wow, that felt pretty bloody good.
Yeah. I mean, um, there's been something I've been going through. I'd say the last probably month or two, and that's being real mindful of myself. And I'll catch myself holding the last snippets of breath for some reason. The very last bit. It's not a full breath out. It's the slightest bit of the last out, and I'll hold on to it, and then I'll take in that other breath. And
Yeah,
I don't actually give myself permission to do those deep in and out breaths.
yeah.
So,
A lot of stuck energy is in that last, you know, cup of air.
mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, and that's why laughter is often very helpful because you're and you're actually squeezing out everything, all those last bits of air. So all that stuck energy is gone, right? So there is actually a thing called laughter, but that's just a type of breath work. You know what I mean?
Huh.
Like, laughter therapy, it's just a type of breath work. Singing is a type of breath work, you know?
Mm.
Um, so what I'm going to do now is the joy I get, Keegan, is introducing to the wondrousness of their own body. Now, you didn't know this, but in your two fingers and thumbs, you have a power button.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
And we're going to hit that power button because you notice when you breathed in and then you breathed in again and again and again, you sort of breathe in up here.
Mm.
So we're going to break it down. This is your primary inhale, and your secondary inhale is when you go in again and again and again.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to call that your secondary inhale, and you're going to pinch your fingers as hard as you can when you get to that secondary inhale.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to blow it out, shake it out, blow it out, shake it out, blow it out, shake it out, 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 shake it out, blow it out, 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 out. When it's all the way out, start breathing in. When you get to your secondary, hit those power buttons. In, hit those power buttons. hold it, wriggle it around the place, wriggle, wriggle, wriggle. Feel like your chest is opening up. And if it feels good, let it out with a juicy sigh.
What just happened?
I know, right? We're getting high on our own supply.
No, like that was not a breath, was it?
We're, we're, we're halfway through the process. We're
Okay,
halfway through the
okay.
process because breath work isn't hard. Like, okay, Keegan, how old are you right now?
I'll be 33 in August.
33. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
for 33 odd years, you've been breathing a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so imagine if let's just say you went to the gym and and I'm just using gym terms here, your bicep curl was only ever like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
for 33 years, someone was doing that. If they were to extend that, whoa, what was that? I got a bunch of new neural pathways firing here. Okay, what's going on? Okay, so I mean it's fun, right? But this is this is the reason we ask permission because we're doing stuff we ain't ever done before in our whole life. Okay. And it's fun, right? It should
Yeah.
feel fun. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And so we are breaking a lifelong habit right now. Okay.
Mm.
But we're accessing resources we never knew we had.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And we're going to build this up even more. So do you remember how I said how nitric oxide is produced when we breathe through our nose?
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
So this time we're going to blow it out, shake it out. And then when we breathe in, we're going to kind of double the speed of the inhale. Let me demonstrate this.
Hmm.
We're going to breathe in and then snort with our mouth closed. Really, if you look at my nose, see how I'm
Mm-hmm.
sort of behind my nose, everyone's nose, we've got sinuses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Those sinus cavities, if you suck the air in rapidly, it has a very positive effect on your brain. When
Hmm.
I was a professional fighter, my coach used to say, before you do a combination, do a big, okay? Because according to him, that sucked the air through your sinuses straight into your brain. Now, I don't know
Mm.
if that was based in science or not, but it worked in combat, and there is a
Mm-hmm.
lot of benefit in really drawing that air rapidly across your nose.
Hmm.
So again, let me demonstrate this. We're going to blow it out, shake it out. And then with our mouth closed, we're going to double the speed of the inhale and we're going to look up with our nose.
Hmm.
Okay. So
Okay.
our structure is opening and our nose is pointing up.
Okay.
Okay. Cool, cool.
Okay. Yeah.
So are you in a supportive chair right now?
Yep.
Fantastic. Okay. So blow it out, shake it out, blow it out, shake it out. Out, 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 further out, further out, further out, further out. And then with your power buttons ready, rapid inhale through the nose, look up, snort, snort, snort. Open, open, open. Hit those power buttons. Open it, wriggle your shoulders, feel your chest opening. Feels how good it is to open that chest like a flower that's opening in the sun. And then when it feels good, let it out with a sigh. And
Huh.
just let the energy go in there. Don't have to talk about it. Just let the energy do its work. Sometimes if we try and categorize this with our words, it can stop the energy flowing. So just let it go where it's supposed to go. Give it a second. It'll percolate and precipitate. People tend to want to classify this with words, but like I said, this is beyond words. Just let it go to where it's supposed to go. It knows you better than you do. This could have been the first breath you've taken in 33 years.
Oh yeah, the a normal breath to oh that does hmm. A normal breath feels empty now.
Well, most people chest breathe,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And if you saw someone in the street going, they're about to freak out, but it doesn't matter because they're chest breathing rapidly, but it doesn't matter if they're hyping themselves up to freak out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it doesn't matter if you're shallow breathing rapid or slow, you're actually sending a signal to your whole body that we're in fight or flight, we can't relax.
Huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Conversely, if you breathe deeply through your nose, that sends a signal to your whole body, hey, we're good to just be in the moment. And then boom, hello, bank of energy, we've just connected to you. No need to outsource. We got you. Um, and when you breathe properly and you look up like we did quite deliberately,
Mm.
we're not just getting more energy from our breath, Keegan. What's happening is our energy level, like think of your brain like an energy generator, and it's got nerves running through your body. And those nerves are like hose pipes. Okay, think of your garden hose, and if you stepped on your garden hose, there's less water running through it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it is with our nerves. When our structure is out, if we're hunched over, and I've noticed this about myself. If I've got shit in my head I don't want there, I will go, oh my gosh, the world is over. You ever seen someone with the weight of the world on their shoulders? Okay,
Yeah.
so they're not just compressing their breath, they're compressing their structure. They're stepping on all the hose pipes of their energetic system. So when we breathe properly, we don't just get more energy from our breath, we get a double whammy. We get more energy from our natural energy generator, which is our brain and all those nerve endings. Okay,
Hmm.
so there's a big difference. Look at my chest. There's a big difference when I'm like that to when I'm like that. And like the difference is maybe that much, maybe an
Mm-hmm.
inch, right? So if you can be cognizant, okay, of that chest point, and what I'll use here is when I'm out in public, I'll use this pinch thing to keep myself in that possibility. So that's why I
Mm.
call this breath the breath of possibility. So
Okay.
when I'm out there frustrated and something's bothering me and I notice there's shit in my head I don't want there, I will use discreetly go, really snort it and move it, and that energy will go to that place where I'm feeling deficient or blocked.
Hmm.
Okay. And so we've all had pills in our life, and I had them in the medicine cabinet, in the fruit bowl, in the car, so because I was always trying to self-regulate. These little
Mm-hmm.
power buttons now become my self-regulators. Or if you're gonna, like, when you're in hospital, you can have a morphine button or a nurse button. Well,
Yeah.
this is what I encourage people to do: is train this in
Mm-hmm.
your own time to, you know, get yourself uh, in that breath of possibility. If something feels impossible,
Mm-hmm.
make it possible. And this now becomes your in-house medication buttons.
Hmm.
um, and it's I encourage people to drill that in their own time. um, so when they're out in the real world and things are going on, you can go to it. Because if you don't drill this in your own time, like in the special forces,
Mm-hmm.
we didn't do anything that the other regular forces couldn't do, but our drills were so precise that when the pressure came in, we could do the basic drills.
Mm.
Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
if you drill this in your own time in a safe environment, when you go outside in the outside world, it's going to be there. It's going to be there. It's going to be there. You know.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's super handy to have on hand because if you're caught unprepared, you're going to wish you had it, and that's one of those things that I know every little trick that I have comes in handy whenever I remember it. And that's the thing.
yeah.
This is the trick, though, like you're saying, is that if I work on this in my own time, whenever I need it the most, I'll remember it and I'll have it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Having regular access, and that's why with breathwork in bed, once you tell it, the notifications fall out of your phone, so I can go but yeah, I know breathwork's important, but am I always going to remember it? No, but my phone will. And but now we've just done the breath of possibility where we opened everything up. Now
hmm.
this next one, it we're going to do the breath of possibility, which leads into the breath of peace. Okay, now
Mm.
the breath of peace is super good, but it can't be done operating heavy machinery, driving. You need to be doing it seated or in a safe place where you're supported. Okay, seated or laying down, because this one can create such a powerful drift in the body that you can uh, feel so relaxed you almost fall off your chair. All right. So what it's going to look like is this. So we're going to breathe in,
Hmm.
hold it, wriggle it from our top third, from our middle down low, and we're going to pressurize it.
Okay.
And then for as long as possible, we're going to pinch our nose and hum, but we're going to deliberately try and push it down low, because if you divide your lungs into third, the bottom third is where you have the best gas exchange, because that's when the little air pockets of our lungs, the alveoli, are the most vascular. They've got the most blood exchange for the gases.
Mm.
So when we push air down low, it increases the uptake of oxygen. And fun fact,
Hmm.
oxygen dissolves lactic acid. So when I'm working with athletes, I'll show them how to breathe, push it down here low in between sets, and that dissolves their lactic acid, and they can perform better, recover faster, etc.
Huh.
Okay. You and me right now, it's just gonna feel really nice, man. You know. So, and we're gonna do this 3 times, and
Okay.
and don't beat yourself up. This is the first time you've been doing it. Give yourself some grace. It'll probably start feeling more natural on the third time, but I'll be here with you the whole time. So
Okay.
with your power buttons, just feel them and exhale, blow it out, shake it out, blow it out, shake it out, blow it out, shake it out. Out, 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 out. Further out, further out, further out. It's amazing how much you can blow out. And then push those power buttons and really snort through your nose. Open up, look to the ceiling, lean back, look to the ceiling, lean back, open everything up, and then just hold it and wriggle it down. Let your head go forward, hold your breath, head forward, head forward, head forward. One hand on your belly, push it down low, one hand on your nose with your head forward, and then hum while you sort of push it down low. Let your head hang forward. Let your shoulders relax. Let that vibration be absorbed through your whole system. And as that air leaves your body, let your tension leave your body. It's like you're a deflating toy. All the tension is leaving your body as the vibration leaves your body. Doing really well. And we're going to do this 2 more times, and each time is going to be more relaxed. We're going to get more open. So blowing it out, shaking it out, blowing it out, shaking it out, feeling more relaxed, getting ready to take this in your body, mind. Breathing in, hit those power buttons, snort that air, lean back, feel like you're breathing in more than you've ever breathed in before. And then just hold it, wriggle it from our top to our middle, wriggle it down low, wriggle it down low, wriggle it down low, feel like it's down low. Put one hand on your belly, one hand on your nose, push your head forward as far as it goes, and then hum it out through your nose. Hum it out for as long as possible. And this experience is deeper than the last one, 10 times deeper than the last one. Just let that vibration go through your system. Let that vibration go through your system and let it go where it's supposed to go. All the tension is leaving your body. Doing really well. And on this last one, this is just an act of receivership. We just let this in. If there's something we need to let go of, just let it go into your breath. So feeling your power buttons, blowing it out, blowing it out, blowing it out, blowing it out. Easy and effortless. And then hit those power buttons, raise that chest, raise that chin, snort that air, in. Feel like you've never been so open, breathe it in longer, feel like your chest is opening up, feel like it's a flower, and the flower is feeling the warmth of the sun. The warmth of the sun is coming through your chest. It feels amazing. Now just wriggle it down low, wriggle it down low. Have your head forward, have your head forward. One hand on your belly, one hand on your belly, one hand on your nose. Push it down extra low and hum for as long as possible through your nose. Let this vibration go deeper than the last one. It just keeps on getting deeper and deeper. Let it nourish your body, mind, and spirit. It's an active receivership. We just have to let it in. Let it in deeper and deeper, letting go of all the tension in your shoulders, your face, your jaw, your neck, your back. All that tension is just disappearing. And when you're ready, just keep your eyes closed and lean back into the chair. Let the weight of that chair support you. Feel that chair supporting you. Feel your muscles touching that chair. That chair was built to hold you. It will hold you. So often in our tension, we don't allow ourselves to feel held and supported. So just let your muscles feel supported by that chair. And if there's anything that you want more relaxed, just take a breath into that place. Breathe into that part in your body that needs extra relaxation. And notice how you can actually actively breathe past your lungs into that part of your body. You can now direct your breath into different muscles of your body, different parts, different zones. And you can breathe away the tension, and you can even breathe in illumination. Just play with breathing in illumination and breathing out any blockages. Picture your breath disintegrating any blockages as you breathe into that place. And if there's anything stuck and you need a bit of an extra boost, just give it a big snort through your nose, and you'll notice that snort, that forcible snort, will get rid of that blockage extra quickly.
Oh yeah, I like that. Hmm. Didn't realize I had a kink in my shoulder. Is that normal?
Yeah. Well,
Kind
like
of,
I
sort of.
said, mental health isn't a mental problem, it's a physical disconnect problem. You would have had that kink
Mm-hmm.
there the whole time, but you're so focused on what was outside of you, this wasn't a priority. We
Mm.
connect to the things outside us, we disconnect from our own body. So we can have all states of disconnection, tension, injuries, all that sort of stuff, but we're more focused on what's out there. So when we return home, we go, oh, actually, there's a little blockage. I can give that some love. I can bring that back into alignment. I can breathe
Mm-hmm.
into that, and all of a sudden, hello, you've just opened up the bank again.
Mm. Man, I love that. It's ooh. And that last one was called the which
Breath
breath?
of peace,
Breath of peace.
breath of possibility, the breath of peace. Um, and yeah, what was that? 3 breaths.
Mm-hmm.
Who knew? Who knew that this wondrous body of ours could give us such incredible sensations? And believe you me, if we could spend an hour together doing this specifically, we could go places words would not describe.
Ooh. Well, maybe we need to look at having an episode all about that next time.
We can do that. Or, I mean, I've got all those things on literally the Breathwork in Bed app. You could literally
Yep.
have that speechless experience tonight. And I really encourage you to access that, because if we can integrate these things into our daily routine,
Mm-hmm.
wow,
Yeah.
we start becoming sovereign people again.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it's about breath work and getting better sleep, but what really lights me up is what happens as a result of people being rested and connected, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because I believe everybody has seeds of greatness and uniqueness inside of them,
Mm-hmm.
and like a seed that lies dormant for the right energetic conditions in the soil
Mm-hmm.
before it grows. If we can improve that soil quality, our quality rest and connection, then all of a sudden those seeds of uniqueness, seeds of greatness flourish, and they cannot not flourish.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what makes me really excited when people start bringing their gifts and abilities into the world, and they literally don't. No one knows they're there until we actually improve the soil, so to speak. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so where can people find the Breathwork app, Breathwork in Bed, and where can they connect with you if they need to get in touch with you?
Sure. Do you have a smartphone or an Android, Keegan?
Yeah, I sure do. I got a smartphone that is an
Okay.
Android.
So if you go literally go into your app store right now
Okay.
and look up three words: breathwork in
Okay.
bed.
Breathwork in bed.
So I disappeared for 2 years to create this thing so I could have a conversation like this where people can get all the good stuff immediately.
Right.
And
Breath.
once you get in there, it'll ask you two very simple questions. When do you want to sleep? When do you want to wake up? And we literally take care of the rest.
Ooh, look at that. Cool.
28-day free trial. So we're not going to give you something unless it adds value to your life. Um, but like I said, I am super excited about people becoming bosses of their own sleep, because then all that cool stuff that people don't even know is there starts coming to life, and you get to start to have these wondrous experiences that you can give yourself. And I'll put in the show notes. I'll give you some links so people can access, the breath of peace possibility and some other bonus material as well.
Okay. Sweet. Well, Tim, this has been an absolute honor and a pleasure having you on, and I've got to thank you for showing me three new ways to take a breath because I know for a fact that I could sure use them, and I'm going to utilize them as best I can. So, everyone out there, thank you for listening to Retrieving Sanity on WDJY 99.1 FM. And this has been Tim Thomas and his, uh, and all of his great breath work. And again, check out Breathwork in Bed. So I just have to say, Tim, it's been great. And uh, thank you again for everything that you've done for not only me, but for everyone out there. And I mean, you never know who's going to hear it and who's going to have a better night's sleep, too. So, um, with that being said, y'all have a wonderful rest of your day. And until next week, y'all have a good one. Much love. Shalom. All right.